Hello, welcome back to A Boring Revolution, your number one news source for everything in regards to the Boring Company. We are back today with another episode, and this episode is a very, very special one. Let's see if I can do this here. Today's episode is episode 100. Now, I think we're actually ahead of 100, but, you know, that's how the number's laid out. But it's a very, very special day for the channel because a lot of effort has gone into producing these various videos, hundreds and hundreds of hours of video. And we've been there along the ride for the Boring Company as it's been growing and progressing and evolving. And I'm hopeful that this will continue for at least another decade, if not more. Who knows? But yeah, this is all very important for the channel. Let's go on. Today's video is going to be talking about the future of the Boring Company, what I expect is going to happen over the foreseeable future. I'm going to divide that up into the short term, medium term, long term, and very, very long term, and just give you an idea of what I think is going to happen and what I want to happen as well. A lot of those are really the same, but hey, why not talk about it? So it's episode 100. This channel has come a long, long way. We're almost at 7,500 subscribers, lots and lots of great videos. Really happy that you've come along with me to get to 100. Please, if you've not done so, please like and subscribe to the video and follow me on Twitter. What do I want to talk about today? Well, we're in a very changeable world. There are a lot of technologies that are converging together. And they might appear totally separate, but they are actually going to come together, and this is going to change the world in a big way, the same way that internal combustion engine vehicles and the oil kind of revolution changed the world back, over 100 years ago, well over 100 years ago. So there's a lot of things that are happening, and we want to talk about what does the future actually hold, and what kind of part does the Boring Company play in that future. There are a lot of good startup companies, tech companies that are going to change the world, and the Boring Company is going to be part of that. They have their own little niche in the market. So a lot of this stuff is fairly obvious, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Rapid transition to 100% renewable power. You could throw in the nuclear power as well. I really do believe that nuclear power is going to have a resurgence, and we're going to see the integration of small modular reactors into the grid, but the vast majority of power is going to come from solar, wind, possibly tidal and wave power, geothermal, that kind of thing. That's going to shake things up. A lot of coal power stations, a lot of gas power stations are going to close down very early. Even power stations that have been built in the last 5 years, they potentially could collapse because it's not viable to run them. Tony Seba talked about this. Another thing as well, the collapse of legacy industries. Again, the oil industry, automobiles, coal, banking as well. I believe banking will significantly decline. It won't collapse. It won't collapse to zero, but it will certainly go very close to disappearing. In terms of the big banks, will lose a lot of value and a lot of customers. Replacement of human-driven vehicles with autonomous systems. Everything will go autonomous. The way you get your food delivered to your house will be autonomous. The way you drive to work will be autonomous. All trains and buses and trucks will be autonomous. Potentially airplanes as well. VTOL, they'll be autonomous. Maybe even other specialized pieces of equipment like excavators and dumper trucks. Anything you can think of potentially could end up going autonomous, and it very much will do so in the next 5 to 10 years, maybe even less than that. A decline of fiat currencies. I believe that the dollar will not be the dominant currency by the end of this decade, possibly a lot sooner. I believe that blockchain alternatives are going to come in, smart contracts, the ability to kind of have these kind of decentralized currencies that can't be influenced by governments, and the way to transfer value from country to country, continent to continent will be done via blockchain, and that will be a massive benefit for society, and it will make it easier to do certain activities like build renewable power grids and things like that, and run autonomous systems will be helped by the fact that we're moving away from that fiat currency. The transition away from giant power grids. So at the moment, the USA essentially has maybe 2 power grids, I believe. I think there's like 50 states in fact 49 states. And you've obviously got a separate power grid in Hawaii, and you've got a separate power grid in Texas, but the majority of it is just one big grid. I believe it's going to start to splinter off into smaller grids. Some of those will be the size of cities. Some of those will be the size of maybe 4 or 5 homes. But batteries will play a big part in that. The worldwide adoption of high bandwidth satellite internet, I think things like Starlink will absolutely dominate. I think there'll be other companies as well that come in and play with that. And it'll make using the internet super easy for everyone, no matter where you are. Whether you're in the central of Africa or maybe in the jungle of the Amazon, you're still going to be able to get high bandwidth internet access. So all those things are good. We know they're going to happen. But really, where does that benefit the Boeing company? Absolutely does. And it's going to play into the hands of the Boeing company. They're going to be able to leverage all those changes, or a lot of them, and use them to build out new mass transit systems and hopefully some other systems as well. Because remember, the Boeing company could potentially be moving water and freight and various other things could be done very, very quickly. So there's a lot of things that are potentially going to happen that are going to benefit the Boeing company, and I'm going to talk about them now. So here is the short-term my thoughts on what's going to happen in the short term. Some of this stuff might end up going into the medium term, but I'm hopeful that it will happen in the short term between 2021 and 2022. So they will achieve a throughput of over 4,200 per hour at the Las Vegas Convention Center. Now, if you don't already know, they are running a stress test at the Convention Center next week, which I believe is the 25th of May, Tuesday the 25th of May. I believe they'll get very close to that, maybe fall slightly short, but they'll get within 10% of that. And then after that, they'll slowly calibrate the system so it goes beyond that up to 4,400. But I think that is an important milestone that they will achieve in the short term. Achieve a boring rate of over 35 meters per day. So they have 2 projects in Las Vegas that they're going to be doing this year. The Resorts World Casino, which has started already. It's been going for about a week now. And the Wynn Casino, which is probably going to start at the end of September, October possibly. So I'm very hopeful that the modifications they've made to Godot are going to enable them to achieve 35 meters per day, which is getting in line with current tunnel boring machines in terms of progress they can make per day. That is the beginning. I believe they will get well above that. They might even hit 40 meters for the Wynn Casino project. Who knows? But I believe that's an important short-term achievement that they will do. Exceed 78 miles per hour during operational running of the Las Vegas Convention Center loop. If you believe some of the critics, they'll tell you that the speed limit is capped at about 40 miles per hour. That is a load of BS. It's going to be going well above 78 miles per hour. I've just put that in there because I believe that's a sensible number, and that is a goal that they will achieve very, very soon, and hopefully we'll see some videos. They will win mass transit projects, so they'll actually tender for projects and win them in 2 different US states. I'm hopeful that those states will be Texas and Florida. I'm pretty hopeful that they will win projects in those areas, and it will just be the beginning of a very, very big system, potentially well over 150 miles in both cities, so Miami and Austin. Reveal event for a 10-seater DDA compliant AEV. When I say DDA compliant, that means that it's fully accessible to handicapped people and disabled people, and thus it's going to have big wide doors and a flat floor, and possibly some kind of access equipment at the stations. So it's like a level boarding system, which is much better than most trains here in the UK and America. And it'll have 10 seats, possibly up to 16 seats. I don't think it needs 16, but anything above 10 is an absolute bonus. And so that's a short term. I think those are very, very achievable. And based on what I'm hearing from the Boeing company, I think they will achieve all those things quite easily. What's coming up in the medium term? By the way, if you agree or disagree with any of these things, please tell me in the comments below, and I'll happily reply back to you, and we can see if we can get a good conversation going. So in the medium term, 2022 to 2026, achieve 100 plus meters per day. So notice there's a plus icon there, so it's going to be, I wouldn't say well above, but quite a fair margin above 100 meters per day, with the Proof Rock TBM, which is going to be launched possibly next year, we hope. Launch a new fleet of high-capacity autonomous electric vehicles, 128 miles per hour top speed. I think that is fairly low, actually, being quite pessimistic, but I think it'll be well above that, closer to 150. But anything above 100 miles per hour is going to be a lot better than the current train system. They're going to be high capacity, so they'll have 10 seats and areas for people potentially to stand as well. So at least 10 seats, maybe up to 16. Achieve a throughput of over 9,500 passengers per hour per tunnel. So that is a hell of a lot of people. And remember, most systems are going to have a dual bore system, so you'll have 2 tunnels. So in reality, you're talking close to 19,000 passengers per hour per system. So I'm very hopeful that's going to happen if they have these new high-capacity autonomous electric vehicles. It should be fairly easy if you run them with a gap of about 8 to 14 meters in between vehicles. Achieve a yearly, this is quite important, and I think we need to start talking about this. For me personally, this is a very important milestone that needs to be completed in the medium term. Achieve a yearly turnover of over $2 billion. You don't necessarily need to make money, but they need to have a good turnover. So most of that is going to be coming from FIRS and also potentially from clients who are paying them to run systems. But it needs to go above 2 billion before the middle of 2026. Start 4 new mass transit projects in the USA. So there might be new projects in Texas and in Florida, maybe like Jacksonville, Tampa. I know Warren likes kind of Central Florida as a potential project for going up to Disney and things like that. So potentially those things could happen. Potentially like California as well. There's plenty of places where there could be mass transit projects built. And hopefully the Boeing company will 100% fund those projects with money that it raises. I think 4 new projects is good if it's in addition to maybe extensions to existing projects as well. That would be a lot of potential new routeway for the Boeing company. Construct a TBM gigafactory in either Austin or Florida. Now, I'm not necessarily tied to those 2 locations, but I think that Austin would be a very, very good choice. You'd need around 200,000 square feet, probably more than that, but absolute minimum 200,000 square feet. You need to be constructing maybe 1 to 2 TBMs per week. That's more than enough for the kind of demand that you're going to see in 2025, 2026. Yeah, but you do definitely need a permanent base where you're manufacturing these machines and you control that manufacturing process, you control the materials, and you make all the decisions based around that particular machine so that it's absolutely top quality, high spec. Long term, so we're looking way into the future now, 2026 to 2034. So that's an 8-year period. It's way in the future. It's difficult to say if these will happen during that period because we're looking way in the future, and a lot of different things can potentially happen in between now and 2026. But it's worth talking about because we want to see that roadmap for the Boeing company. So we'd like to see them achieve 175 meters per day with a Proof Rock TBM. So you're getting well over half a mile per week there, which is more than suffice. You could argue that the Boeing company doesn't need to achieve that. I can see the reasons behind that argument, but I think that the constant striving to achieve perfection, to improve the technology, will lead them to above 175 meters per day. File for an IPO via the NASDAQ exchange. Now, I think this is very important. As someone who invests in a lot of different companies, I think it would be great if the Boeing company was in there. I believe the ticker symbol should be Tunnel, TUNL. Someone suggested that to me on Twitter many months ago, and I think that's a great ticker symbol. Once it goes live via an IPO, probably around 2026, 2027, earlier in this kind of period, hopefully we'd see a lot of the Tesla investors move over as well, maybe split their portfolio a little bit. There's potentially big money to be made there, and obviously that money can be reinvested into the company for future projects, which means we don't need to rely on the government, who are extremely unreliable, especially the current government. So start 8 new mass transit projects in the USA. So these could be anywhere from Chicago to Boston to Seattle. Who knows? If there's a city with more than 170,000 inhabitants, that is going to be perfect for the Boring Company. Obviously, California has a lot of cities along the coast, so you'd like to link like San Diego all the way up to kind of LA and San Francisco, and maybe even all the way up to Seattle, who knows. But you'd want to kind of link up as many places as possible, and kind of give people the opportunity to jump in an autonomous electric vehicle rather than use the car or a train. I think 8 new mass transit projects is quite a low bar, really, and they probably will vastly exceed that. But in this period, they will obviously have other projects that they've already completed, and they're extending as well, especially in Austin and Miami. And Las Vegas at this point could potentially have a maybe a 180-mile system, maybe more than that, 200-mile system, who knows. Establish a specialized district heating division within the company. Now, I think district heating is the future. I've been recently looking at a startup company that enables electricity to be converted into heat and then stored in giant sand pits. If you're on our Discord, you will have seen which company I'm talking about. I will do a future video on that. I believe there are no obstacles to rolling out giant district heating systems in most cities. If a city has more than 150,000 inhabitants, then it is perfect for district heating, and you're basically just moving hot water in a tube. The tube's probably around 20 inches, maybe just under 600 millimeters in diameter, and then you have some kind of exchange system where you exchange that heat between a building. It's super efficient. You can use renewable energy. You can also use small modular reactors. If the Boring Company gets into this, potentially they could make just as much money from selling heat or even cooling. You can do district cooling as well as they do for mass transit. So potentially that is an area they need to get into. I'm going to say, forget this for now. So the short and medium term, forget about district heating. But in the long term, focus on district heating, expand the business. This will grow the stock price, obviously after the IPO, and then more and more people will want to invest in the Boring Company and get district heating in their city or town. Acquire an established tunneling company, contractor or startup. I think there's going to be a lot of tunneling companies with very, very experienced and knowledgeable workforces, and I think it would be in the Boring Company's interest to acquire someone. Maybe there's a startup with a specific piece of technology that the Boring Company could use. The Tesla has done this. I'm not aware of SpaceX doing this, but I know Tesla has acquired a good couple of companies now, and I think the Boring Company should start doing that once they have completed their IPO and they have lots of money on their bank sheet. This is very important for me. I think this should happen in 2026, if not earlier. I'd like to see this happen in the medium term, but I think it's going to be difficult to achieve. Start a school of mining, aka the Boring University. Now, there's definitely a skills shortage in the tunneling industry, and they need to encourage more people in this industry. They've obviously done the Boring Company tunneling competition, which is going to attract a lot of potential new talent to the Boring Company. But if they really, really want to invest in talent, they need to set up the Boring University. Now, this university could potentially focus on mining and TBMs, and geology and various other things, but potentially you could have other disciplines in there as well. Electrical engineering, civil engineering, just kind of general kind of construction project management, quantity surveying, that sort of thing. So the Boring University could be a really exceptional place to get your education. I'd like them to put it in almost in the middle of nowhere. build their own kind of smart city around the university, all brand new facilities. You know, we're talking spending over maybe 1.3 billion US dollars, so that'd be like £1 billion here in the UK, on a specific boring university, and really invest in education. I know Elon Musk believes in that. I think he should do it as soon as possible, and it will enable the Boeing company to expand much quicker and take on more projects. Very, very long term. Now, this might not happen, but we might as well talk about this. I like to do, when I do things or when I plan for the future, I like to divide things up into the short, medium, and long term. However, sometimes when you're looking at, you know, the big picture for a company like the Boeing company, you want to look way into the future, because it takes a lot of effort to build up to these milestones. So there's a lot of effort going to have to go into this to achieve 220 meters per day with a proof rock TBM. That's 1 mile, almost, just slightly under 1 mile per week. I think that's going to be a very, very difficult milestone to achieve. It will probably happen some point between 2045 and 2050. It's going to be difficult. In the short term to medium term, they need to be focusing on having more and more machines and throwing, you know, lots and lots of TBMs at a job. Maybe in the very long term they have fewer machines and they can all do more boring per day. Start 20 new mass transit projects in the USA. So at this point, you know, hopefully the Boeing company is operating in most of the major cities in the USA. Obviously places like Phoenix and other smaller cities as well, Boston, anywhere you can think of in Texas, potentially towns as well. Now you could move on to any kind of small town with a population above 85,000 people. You could start moving into those places. But I think 20 new mass transit projects in a 16-year period is very, very viable at this point. Achieve a turnover of $10 billion per year. Again, I think I'm being pessimistic with that. They should be able to achieve that in around 2035, 2036, possibly earlier. But I think that's a really good goal. Obviously, at this point, you want the companies to be making profit as well. So you'd be hoping that they maybe got a gross margin of around 30% on the mass transit system and around 25% on the district heating. And obviously, they might be doing other things like water distribution, maybe other freight tunnels as well. I've not mentioned freight tunnels in this one, which I probably should have done, but I think freight tunnels and freight movement could account for 20 to 30% of that 10 billion, maybe slightly more. But things like district heating and mass transit are going to be very, very important to the Boeing company and will be easy profit machines for them. Construct a 1,000-mile Hyperloop / maglev network in the USA. Now, I don't have a particular favoritism over those two systems. I think the maglev system that they're building in Japan is incredible, and it's getting up to 380 miles per hour. I mean, really, do you need it to go above that? Probably not. It might even get up to 400 miles per hour. Hyperloop is going to be getting up to around 620 miles per hour. But you've got to account for acceleration and deacceleration with systems like that. So there's advantages and disadvantages to both. I hope they both succeed. Both of them can exist in different places, so that's absolutely fine. But 1,000 miles of both constructed mainly underground, maybe up to 80 to 85% of it underground. That would be absolutely perfect, and that can be done in the very long term. And this is the key one that I really think would be the ultimate milestone that I would absolutely love to see. If this does actually come true, I'll be the happiest guy on planet Earth. Achieve S&P 500 inclusion alongside Tesla, Starlink, and Neuralink. I don't think SpaceX will ever IPO. Not before 2050. It might IPO in 2070, something like that, once they've established a colony on Mars, but I don't think in the kind of that kind of period, 2034 to 2050, it's going to happen. But once they do that, they then become a big established company, and at that point, I will probably have a lot of other people who are producing videos on this topic, and then I myself might end up retiring. But S&P 500 is very, very important, because if you have a look at these companies that are in the S&P 500, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, Facebook, and lots of others, they are the dominant kind of players in the tech industry. Now, this particular pie chart is from February the 11th, 2020. So that's 14, 15 months ago. If you look at that now, look at that with Tesla in there. It's taking up quite a sizable portion of the S&P 500. At some point, I'd expect that there might be as little as 10 companies taking up, maybe 2/3 of this particular pie chart. But who knows? The Boeing company can get in there by massively increasing its turnover, dominating mass transit, dominating district heating, dominating freight movement around the USA and potentially other countries as well, Europe, maybe China, Australia, Asia. It can easily do that, and it's only grow from there on in, because the world is changing and the Boeing company is ready to take advantage of all those potential changes in the future. Okay, that's the video. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you like my predictions. I hope you think they're realistic. If you don't, tell me otherwise. If you would like to support this channel, please consider these 3 options here. So we have the Twitter account, we have the Discord account, and we have Patreon as well. Please consider donating just $2 a month on Patreon. It really, really does help me produce more videos like this, and I will continue to do so for the next 100 videos, because we're looking for 200, 300, 400, maybe even 500 videos. Who knows? But I'm always looking to expand. And thank you to all my Patreons. You're just amazing, absolutely amazing people supporting me. And I appreciate times are not great, but you continue to support me, and that's, absolutely fabulous. What can I say? Thank you so much. I really, really do appreciate that. Yeah, what a great episode, 100, number 100, and the future is bright, people. The future is just going to be absolutely splendid, and all these people spreading FUD about the Boring Company are going to find that yeah, they've got it wrong. And on that bombshell, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for getting to the end, and remember, don't be boring. I'll see you on the next one.
This is Sparta!